Good evening, grace and peace. We want to ask you all as you start coming in to share this. Tonight's going to be a really powerful, real powerful evening. Good to see you, my brother. Seeing some of my brothers and sisters coming in. I see Ebony coming in. Good to see you. Brother Pastor Eric, God bless you, man. So share this, get settled in. Yeah, this is going to be really powerful. So I'm asking all of you to please share this. Good evening. God bless you. Good to see you, Lady Wilson. I see Ebony. God bless you. Um, Kevin, my man. Good to see you, man. Shout outs, Gifted Hands. Good to see you. We have our brother. He's chilling, waiting for us to get on. Just want to give a few more minutes for some more the people to come on. Good to see you, Jackie. Please share. Thank you. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can do this without messing up. There we go. Please share. Thank you. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can do this without messing up. Lady Bennett, God bless you. I'm going to shout out for those of you who are coming in the beginning, just shout you out. Hope you're okay with that. Just a few more moments. Good to see you, Vonda, Lady Clark. Good to see you. Brother Blaine, good to see you, man. See y'all coming in. PC's in the house. 914-10573. It's good to see y'all. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope everybody's getting off to a good start this year. Looking forward to great and awesome things. Lady Carr, God bless you. Really looking forward to some awesome things, some new direction, some higher trajectory, right? We're moving forward, moving strong, not looking back, pushing forward. The Lord bless you, Lady Fennell. Pastor, God bless you. All right, so let's let me get started. I really believe that we're in for a treat tonight. This is something that is very very powerful, and I want to, good to see you, Deaconess Barrett. I want to give it the attention that it deserves. And if you see in the bottom of my screen, there is a suicide hotline. If there's anyone who's struggling with this in this area, please don't hesitate to call that hotline. And God bless you, Elizabeth. Good to see you. Those of you still coming in, please share. Please share. You're coming in from different platforms. I have people from Facebook, from Instagram, and from YouTube. So feel free to share that. Every platform is just my name. If you want to share it with somebody or send someone how to get on, just give them my name, Kali Chris. Okay. All right. So let's cover a few things before we get started. First of all, I want to say thank you all for those of you who shared this during the day today. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for being concerned. And by the numbers and by how we address these matters will ultimately help people to realize that they don't have to be alone, and that this condition, this disease, is not their fault. I know that sometimes, especially in the Black community, we really struggle with transparency with this particular subject matter, anything to do with mental health, and largely because of how we were raised. I mean, predominantly, Black and brown people really didn't have time to deal with trauma, to cope with trauma, didn't have the money for the therapist and for the help that we need. So therefore, we kind of just moved past stuff and just kind of moved, mechanically. And so while wounded, while broken, while traumatized, not realizing that as these things are happening to us, that it's causing impacts in our future, to our future, and it's devastating. And so now we begin to see more and more of the residual of these things that are coming up into our communities. And I'm so grateful that we are more open to deal with these matters head on. And it's going to take more. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. So it's going to take situations in times like this for us to really deal with it head on, without fear, without equivocation, without any shame. And so I just want to say that as those of you who are coming on, couple things. Now, my brother, he's a considerate man. He reached out this week, and today he knows today's my wife and I's anniversary. So it's our 4th anniversary, and my man was like, he said, "Yo, man, you sure you want to do this on your anniversary?" I said, "No, man. We're consecrating this month, and because we consecrate, we give our month over to God, and that is any celebrations that we have. So we celebrate next month." So it was considered. It was real nice of him to consider that. So those of you who are thinking, we thank you for all of your anniversary wishes, and no, I'm not being insensitive, and no, I'm not neglecting my wife. I am really, we're really happy, and we give this month, when the Lord calls us on the fast, we give this month to the Lord, and then next month we celebrate our anniversary. So thank you so much for all your wishes, and we take them seriously, and we're very honored that you took the time to do that. All right, so just so you don't know, my name is Kali W. Chris III. I am a pastor, and I've been preaching for well over 38 years, and been pastoring for somewhere in the neighborhood of 29 years. And I love God. I love God's people. I love people. And so I just wanted to tell you who I am. Many of you may know me, and you may not. But tonight we're going to talk to our brother, and I'm trying to make sure I cover all of my bases before I go any further. So do us a favor, please share, please like, and if you have any questions, we'll leave those for the end. Okay, if you have any questions, so just jot your questions down that you may have for my brother, tonight, or for me, but just jot those down so that when we get a chance to, at the end, we are going to try to have Q&A and try to address whatever questions he can address for you. So at this point, without further ado, I'm going to bring my brother on. He's in the green room waiting. My man.
Yes, sir. What's good?
Good to see you, man. Thank you for coming on. Can y'all hear him? If y'all can hear him, give him a thumbs up. This is my brother Calvin.
Always.
Calvin Thomas, excuse me. And I don't know how I don't have your name on the screen. Should have. I gotta try to figure out how to do that. I know you're on the bottom here. All right, so good, man. Thank you so much for doing this, man. And y'all show some love to my brother. Y'all show some love. Hit those hearts, hit those likes. Welcome my brother into the room, because he's going to really help save some lives tonight. And the other day, he reached out, man. He reached out and he said, "Listen, we got to talk about this, and let's do a live, man. Let's get the word out. I'll share my story. You know what I've been through, and I'm frozen. Am I frozen? My wife said I'm frozen.
Man, you're not frozen over here.
I'm not frozen. Okay. I froze. Come on, babe. Tell me if text me something. Y'all see me okay? Am I frozen? Yeah, she got me frozen. Everything else is moving. Boy, I tell you, man, this is a trick. I was on last night, had no problems all night. Yo, I was on last night for an hour and a half, 40 minutes, had no problem. Go out and come back in, babe. Everybody else sees me okay. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. So my brother's here tonight. He said, "Listen, man, let's get to this. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let's get the word out. Let's save some lives. Let's and the way that he's doing it is he's putting himself out there. And so, man, I commend you, my brother. I appreciate your courage and your selflessness, and the sacrifice you're willing to make for the community and for those of us, for our family members. It's not easy to do what you're doing, and actually been going through what you've gone through. So tonight, I want to thank you for that. I know that there's a friend of ours, a friend of yours in Portchester. Just you want to talk about that a little bit? I'll let you talk about that. Listen, yeah, go ahead, man. Just tell me about. I want to talk about the young lady who just took her life in Portchester.
Yeah, we had a young lady from the community back home in New York that recently committed suicide, and it kind of took all of us by surprise because she was always looked at as a strong individual, a strong woman, a strong personality. To hold her own in any type of debate, any situation. So it kind of took us all by surprise, which is the real catch when it comes to people who are experiencing mental illness or who go through depression or who decide to make that, who decide to take it to that far and to take their own life. Whatever. Usually surprised because it's usually the ones that seem to be the strongest.
Yeah. So listen, man, I want to again thank you. Those of you who are coming on, do me a favor, do us a favor, please share, please like, hit the tag button. Those of you on Instagram, those of you who on YouTube, subscribe. So please do that. That's going to be very important as we build this platform tonight. So listen, Calv, listen, man. Let's start from the beginning. All right. I wanna kind of take this whole thing apart, and tell me a little bit about your beginning, man. Like how did you? Tell me about you. Tell me about your family dynamic, your community. I mean, I know because we grew up together, but Tell me a little bit about your home life and about you. Let's talk. Let's tell us who Calvin is, man, and how it all began.
Growing up, PC, New York. Shout out to 914. We in the building. 45 Travis Avenue, home of the Brave. In the projects.
I thought the
Just
Brave was
growing up.
on the drive. I thought the Brave was on the drive. I don't.
Nah, man. Everybody know Travis Avenue is where it all started. That Carver Center stopped that. The drive wanted to be on Travis. But anyway, growing up, on 45 Travis Avenue, whatever, a lot of times when people see if you're an outsider looking in at the projects, you probably look at it as a building with a lot of windows, a lot of floors. But the people that live in the projects, especially growing up on Travis like we did, we saw it as just one big house with a lot of floors. You know what I mean? And I'll
I see
probably go downstairs and go into your room. Not your apartment, but I go downstairs to your room. So it was just one big house, one big family, And I had my siblings, me, Carla, Muffy, my sister Brissa came along later, 10 years later after me, along with my mom. Growing up in a single family household, even though my biological father and my mom was pretty much already on the outs while I was in my mom's stomach. So the time I was born, I was lucky to have someone to come into my life, my stepfather, David Richard Williams, who came into my life and stepped right in. But I don't care who you are, anytime you're growing up as a child and you don't have your biological father in your life, there's always going to be some type of a void there because you may want to know why he isn't there, you know. Um, and you may even question, is it because he doesn't love you or something like that? So for me, growing up in a household, because even with my stepfather, I think him and my mom broke up. I was like maybe in the third or fourth grade, so I was still fairly young.
Mm-hmm.
But growing up in that dynamic, I think I always was looking for attention in some capacity, uh, doing something, whether I was doing something good or whether I was doing something bad. Always teaching this, looking for attention. And I think that's probably where, my bout with mental illness probably started, feeling like I'm not maybe loved enough for my because I remember I was a kid when I had to be like in first grade with me, my mother, my Marissa, and Carla Muffy. We went to Detroit because my uncle Nathan had passed away, and I remember being on that flight, being picked up from the airport, and the only thing I could think of was, man, I'm gonna see my father. I'm going to see my biological father, and he's going to be happy to see me. And we're going to have this crazy embrace and all those things, right?
How old were you then, man? Just real quick. How old were you?
First grade, oh man, I had to be,
Okay, first grade.
yeah, I know I was definitely like first grade somewhere around. I remember exactly how
Okay,
old
go
I
ahead. I'm
was.
sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. All right.
And that embrace never happened.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And if I look back in hindsight, I'm like, okay, well, he did lose his brother. He was going through something. He was probably sad. He was hurt. So, that was probably the furthest thing from his mind was. But for me, it was like, okay, I've only seen pictures of this man. You know what I mean? And it was because of his relationship with my mother that they were still, fighting a lot. You know what I mean? And not physically, but they just didn't get along. And so that pretty much kept him from coming around
Mm.
as much as he should have. For him it was like, okay, listen, I'm sending a check every month. That should be all that matters. The
Mm.
military gonna make sure you get that check. But I would like to think, me reaching out for attention at a young age is where it started at, and feel like I wasn't getting that, and especially um, once my stepfather was no longer in the picture. So I always had these reoccurring nightmares when I was a kid that my family was going to pack up and leave me. They would get in the car and they would, we're leaving you. And they would get in the car and they'd be driving away. And I'm running after the car trying to catch them. You know what I mean? And there
Wow.
was a reoccurring dream as a kid that never went away. But I would like to think that contributed to, what I was going through. But I can't exactly put a whole hand on exactly what started my bout with mental illness or my bout with depression. You know?
So, man, it's interesting because, as I'm listening to you talk, a couple of things stand out to me. One, the family dynamic. Like you were number three, right?
Yes.
So you were the last one, and then like you said, your sister came along, your younger sister came along later, and you already recognized that you had this need for attention, right? You had this need for it, and I remember you not this young, but I remember you were young, and you were always this happy-go-lucky kid, right? I mean, you're a
Yeah.
little younger than me, and so you was like you right. You were funny. You was always carrying on, and so it's interesting how. And I'm listening to you talk, man, and I see kind of the fact that you were looking forward to seeing your dad, and that was something that was important to you. And then, but already you're making excuses for your father not being there, right? You're already making compensation at that age. For, he must have been busy, and that's what happens, right? That's kind of the things that happen. And one of the things that I want to highlight here is the fatherlessness, right? And you really nailed that when you said how important it was for seeing your father. And that trip to Detroit, all you can think about is getting off that plane and finally getting a chance to spend some time with your dad.
Yeah.
And that never happened. And that's the man that's and what's crazy about it, Calv, is that that's traumatic, right? I mean, that's we kind of wince at those things, right? We kind of just all right, but those things, man, impact us in ways that we don't know until now, right?
Right.
Like, right? We don't know until now.
That's
So,
for sure.
so tell me a little bit about how you think you were perceived in the community. Like we kind of know your family dynamic, but how you think you were perceived in your classmates in the community, right? Because already now we're starting to see some traumatic experiences or episodes that you're going through. But how do you think you were perceived? I'll ask you that.
Well, it's funny because going back to first grade, again, always trying to seek for attention, always trying to be the center of attention, the class clown. Doing that led me to getting left back in first grade, and
Mm,
and now you seeing your friends go to second grade, and then
wow.
you got to go back to school next year. You still in first grade, they're in second grade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And so now you're thinking, okay, maybe you're a failure. Maybe you're not as bright as everyone else, and maybe that's why
Mm,
you are trying to get attention in another way. You know what I mean? Uh, so I think that kind of affected me a lot too. Just starting to deal with the fact that I was a failure, whatever, and I never really was into school at all. I mean, I could I was the type of kid that I could get good grades when I wanted to. You know
mm.
what I mean? Uh, and you had to really. It was only a very few teachers that could get and keep my attention.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, I mean, I remember sometimes like I would play around on purpose because I knew that if I did that, the teacher was going to try to make a mockery out of me
Hmm.
and ask me to answer a question, and she would call on me because she knows or she thought maybe I wouldn't know the answer. So I'm gonna act a fool on purpose because I know she think I don't know what's going on here, and so she can call on me, Calvin. Well, Calvin, do you know the answer to this? What's the difference between importing and exporting, or something like
Mhm.
that? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I would just to make her look stupid, answer the question, and I'll go back to playing around. You know what I mean? So it was just always this thing of just trying to you know make up for something that was lost, whether it was just feel like I was a failure, whether it felt like I didn't have the same damn family dynamics as some of the other kids. You know what I mean? Or that father being around. So but it was just always something was always missing. And like I said, I still to this day can't exactly put my whole hand on it. Maybe a finger or two, but never my whole hand on exactly what was missing in my life to make me feel like okay,
So let me ask you a question, man. Leave me out. Let's walk up to that day. So you first grade, that was kind of your personality, and you kind of nailed that, and got clarity on that. But let's talk a little bit about when can you tell us was the first time you realized that you had a suicidal or a reckless thought, right? Because sometimes our thoughts they're reckless. They're not necessarily suicidal or not. They're just reckless. When can you reflect back? Like, when do you think you had the first reckless or suicidal thought?
man, I think I had to be like maybe around 10 years old, man. Probably around the time my sister was uh was coming into the world, Barissa, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Now happen to, I already feel like I don't get enough attention, so now I gotta share it now. You know
Wow.
what I mean? And
Wow.
uh I remember speaking at my sister Carla's funeral,
Hmm.
and I was a joke, but it was the truth that I literally slept in the bed with my sister till I was 10 years old. You know what I mean? Till Barissa took my spot, whatever. You know,
Wow.
that's a little weird for a kid to whatever to still be sleeping with his sister, you know what I mean? But
Hmm.
you know, I did, you know what I mean? She Carla would put her thumb in her mouth and play
Yep.
with my cheek till I fell asleep,
she
man.
sucked
And
your thumb.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
Carla sucked your
I
thumb.
mean, that was that. I mean, some people are mama's boys. I was a sister's boy. You know what I mean? Because my mom was working all the time. You know, and that's
Mm.
another thing where not getting that attention. Your mother's never there. Your father's not there. Now your mother, she's working two jobs, and so she's never home. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And then so you're having these school events, and you're having choir, you're having concerts, you're having band night, you're having all these things at school, and everybody else's parents is in there cheering them on, and you look out there, there's nobody for you. You know what I mean?
Wow. Wow.
Every concert, you're singing your heart out, you know, and just hoping that maybe your mom, because at the end of the show, oh, you did a great job, you was good, son. You was never, even when I started playing sports, I'm out there on the court, I'm playing my heart out. Yeah, whether it be Don Bosco or people's
Hmm.
parents out there watching them, supporting them while they're playing basketball and they're cheering them on. And
Wow. Wow.
I can never look up in those stands and see somebody out there cheering for me, you know. And I think that affected me even to this day. No matter how old you get, whatever those type of things affect you. Knowing that there was nobody there to support you, cheering you on. If I didn't have my boy Roy's mother there, Miss D, God bless her dad,
Shout
she
out
was
to Miss D. Yeah.
you go, Calvin, you go, boy, whatever. But just it's different when you don't have your own mom or dad, somebody in the stands cheering you on while you singing your heart out at a concert or some school concert or something.
Mm. So
Yeah,
so as you're thinking about this, um, you're as we kind of process this whole idea of, first of all, you already feel like you don't have enough attention.
yeah,
Don't and it's understandable. Like, and now you have to share the little attention you're getting with um the new sister coming into town. All
oh
right.
yeah,
And so now you got less. And so now, and then you're kind of trying to do your best. You're excelling in sports and singing. You're just doing everything you can, and then still now there's nothing, and you hear it. Everybody else get theirs, and you don't. There's nothing there for you. And I want to take a segment here because for those of us who are listening to this, and those of you who are parents, and I want to say this to you right now. I want to just drop this in here. And I know there's a lot of baby mama drama, baby daddy drama, but I just want to throw a segment in here that it's sometimes you really don't know how much it impacts your child when they're getting caught. They become casualties in the bickering war. You're trying to hold your ground, you're trying to do your thing, and I get it, but let's 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 consider, right, the casualties, right, the ones who are innocent, the ones who are kind of caught in between, because again, these things do happen. So I just want to drop that in there, and to just get some consideration just to while we're on this point, Calvin. So Calvin, so here we are, right? We're you are you're doing your thing, you're in sports, you're playing, man. You're a normal kid, right? You're a normal kid. You just missing some things. And everything you said about wanting, where's my applause and where's the parents for me and where's my rah-rah section, right? And there's nobody. And that's something that you're entitled to, man. I think every child is entitled to their own rah-rah section. I think sometimes in the Black community, we got to put food on the table, we got to pay bills, we got responsibilities, but there are some things that are just more valuable than one more hot dog, or I'm saying, one more pack of chicken. I mean, some things are just more valuable. So let's go a little deeper now, man. So you're starting to realize these things, and you're not getting the attention that you need, and so now you're having this thoughts of abandonment, I imagine, probably some rejection, right? And so take me up to that. Let's take us up to that time when it like really happened, like it really started. The idea of doing this thing start. Tell us what was that like?
That was like a reoccurring dream as well, because
Hmm.
most people think that when somebody decides to take their own life, that the moment that they did it was the moment that they decided that they thought about it. No, you've been thinking about that for years,
Mm,
months, years. It's just that, you know, it takes a lot of heart to get to that point where you decide, you know what, this is going to be the time and the date that I do it right here. But when you do it, you've already been thinking about doing it for years. You just didn't have the heart, or you just,
mm,
you know what I mean? It takes a lot to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to do it. Because some people are fake the funk, oh, I'm going to cut my wrist. You know,
mm,
you ain't really trying. You ain't really trying to hurt yourself. You really just trying to maybe get some attention. You're gonna go to emergency room. Oh, baby, what happened to you? Oh, no, no, no. When you decide to get to that point where you really want to hurt yourself or do something where you want to take yourself out, you've already thought about that thing in your head a million times before. How you gonna do it? Where you gonna do it? You got dreams. You having dreams. You having nightmares and dreams of yourself that you've done it, that you're in the casket, and you have this vision of what you think your homegoing is going to be like because
wow.
you did it. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like, no, don't feel sorry for me now. Oh, that's what you're thinking. Man, they're gonna feel so bad. They're gonna feel sorry for me. They're gonna love me now. You're gonna love me now. I'm dead now. You know what I'm saying? And you're thinking about this all the time. It's like and it never goes away. It's like a broken record that never goes away, and you're just counting down the days of time of when you think that you got the heart to do that, and that thing takes a lot of heart, to be able to say, I'm going to do this. You don't know if it's gonna hurt. You don't know if it's
Wow.
gonna hurt, how much pain's gonna be in, and God forbid you try to do it and you be like me and you survive. It's one thing to try to explain to people that you're depressed or that you want to take your life. It's another thing to do it and fail and have to explain to people how you got in your situation, how you get paralyzed. What, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna tell them? Oh yeah, I'm in this chair because I tried to take my life. I lied about that for the first 10, 15 years of being in my wheelchair. I had to think of a reason or excuse to tell people why I was in the chair. You know what I mean? I said
Wow.
somebody
Wow.
somebody shot me. Oh yeah,
Wow.
are they in jail? The people that shot you, are they in jail? So you had to think of a lie after a lie. You know what I mean? So it's one thing
Wow.
to think of what you're gonna tell somebody or how you're gonna tell somebody that you're pressing what you're going through. But it takes a lot to get to that point where when I think about our friend from back home, Mrs. Moore, who took her own life, you know, I sat there and I can visualize what she was going through at that very moment, how she was gonna do it. I gotta make sure I do this right. I can't fail because failing is, you know, that's the worst part of it. I gotta make sure I do it. I do it right because, man, I'm gonna tell you, when you wake up out of that, when you wake up and realize you didn't do it, I was like, because I know for me, I'm like, God, what is going on here? My life was already hell. I was going through all this. I tried to take myself out. And not only did you let me live, but you left me here worse than what I already was. What are you doing? You know what I mean? You
Wow. Wow.
questioning God, what are you doing?
Wow.
So now you wake up to even more shame and embarrassment. You know what I mean?
Cal, listen, man. So wow. So and listen, man. Again, brother, man. Thank you so much, man, because what you're sharing with us is absolutely uh selfless, man. And you know, as much as I've talked to people who were depressed and suicidal, what you're telling me I've never heard before, right? I've never considered the thoughts of the temptation, because I'm always on the other end trying to remedy or fix the problem, whereas the process to get up to that point, to even make the attempt like you did, and all that goes into that, uh is absolutely, I mean, overwhelming, brother.
Most people that are when they're feeling that way, you feel unloved. Like most people who are depressed and are suicidal are people who feel unloved, right? But what's the most way that you get the most love in the world? It's when you're gone, right? You
mm,
go to a funeral, everybody getting all these accolades. Oh, he was a good person. He was great. He did this. People are crying over you. You get the most love when you
when you're
die.
gone. Wow.
You ain't gonna get that love when you're alive. Nobody gonna give you that same type of ceremonial and love and accolades when you're alive. You don't get your flowers when you're alive. You get your flowers when you're
Wow.
dead. You know what I'm saying? So
Wow.
when you're alive, you ain't feeling love, but you know the one way that you can get that love. You may not be there to visualize see it, but in your dreams, you have a vision of what it's gonna be like. Ah man, yeah. You even see your friends coming up, lining up to see you at the casket in your dreams.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Crying over you, but you ain't gonna get that when you're alive. You can only get that type of love when you're gone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's real talk, man.
That's real talk, man. Because wow. And that's one of those Selah moments, brother. Like, and you know what? And it's so right in our face, right? It's obvious. It's as obvious as you're saying it. It's as vivid and as tangible as you're saying it. And even probably when you were coming through this, I'm sure you went to funerals, like you said, you went to a funeral for your uncle, and You saw that love, you saw that attention, right? You saw how many funerals have we seen, man? I mean, I'm sure up to
Yeah,
that point you've been to more, and you saw the
yeah.
tears and the crying, and I'm sure that played over in your head, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
And now you're leading up to this thing. You're like, man, let's talk about that, man. Let's talk about that day. You know, how old were you when you made this attempt, man?
I was 18 years old,
Wow.
and you just you never know what's gonna trigger. You never know what's gonna trigger you to get to say, you know what, I'm done. I'm just done. I'm done. Uh, my boy Roy, my best friend, right? He to this day, I'm 30. I've been paralyzed for 33 years. And to this day, he
Mm.
still to this day gets on me because he says, man, for 2 hours you sat out there on that sidewalk with me and you listened to me about all my problems and everything I was going through, and I vented to you and I was hurt, and you was there consoling me and encouraging me, and you never once told me what was going on with you. And two
Wow.
hours later, my situation, I was triggered because, you know, a friend of mine, triggered me over some drug territory, drug territory. Something is, and I'm like, whenever you're going through any situation, you would at least hope that it could be your friends that can help you pull you through or to help you get through the situation, you know.
Mhm.
And for me in my situation, I would never call his name out, whatever. But it was a friend of mine who decided he wanted to fight me that day over drug territory. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I was already going through a lot
Mm.
leading up to that week. I had someone press charges on me. I had two assault charges. Um, when at my bedside, when the detectives came, they told my mom. They said, "Listen, we got assault charges on them. We have endangering the lives of others. The gun charge alone is New York is like what 5 7 years at that time. Just alone.
Mhm. Mhm.
We got a civil indictment on them. So, but they told my mother there was nothing that they can do to me to make me any worse than what I already was. So I was able to get a clean slate. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Because my mother was working for the chief of police's mother as a nurse. So
Mhm.
that's what helped me. But I was already going through a lot leading up to that day. And
Wow.
so that day, when he triggered me, I just got the phone. But you know what? I'm done. I'm going to take you out, and I'm going to take myself out because I
Mm.
ain't going to jail over you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I went upstairs, and I grabbed the gun, and I was already in the zone. I was in the zone. I knew what I was gonna do. I always had a temper anyway. I've always had a bad temper. So I grabbed the gun, and when I walked out of my room going to the door, I had to pass through my sister Carla, who had just came home that day because my nephew Aaron was born, and she had just got released from the hospital with him. So she's in the living room with my nephew,
Mhm.
and I go to the door, and I got the gun by my side, and I go out there. She said, "Ma, Calvin just left out of here with a gun. Calvin
Mm.
got a gun." And by the time I got to the stairwell, my mother was screaming out, "Calvin, where the hell you going with that gun? Get back here with that gun." And I said, "Mom, I love you, but I gotta do what I gotta do." And I went down the stairs. When I got to the front of the building, my cousin Monica was there with some friends, and I gave my cousin Monica all the money that I had on me, and I had some drugs on me as well. I told her what to do with that. Hey, give this to him, to so and so when you see him, whatever. And she's looking at me with the money in one hand and the drug in the hand, like, what in the world is going on here? What's going on? And I just said, just do what I just do what I told you to do. When I went to the parking lot, you know, I called him out. He had already went to the back and got around a few other people, whatever, so that he knew me. He knew me very well. We're both Sagittarius. We both had the same temperament, whatever. So, and he had never tested me before. So when this happened, whatever, he had an idea. Okay, I know he's coming back, and I know If I know Calvin, if you know Calvin, Calvin's coming back with something, and he's going to pick something up and he's going to use it. That's my forte.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, I bucked one shot off. You know what I mean? After asking him to separate, and I thought I just knew I was going to jail for a long time, so I put the gun to my head and I pulled the trigger. And when I pulled the trigger, nothing happened. You know, I'm an inexperienced gun handler. I don't know what a delayed discharge is. You know,
Wow.
and so when I'm looking at the gun, trying to figure out why the gun didn't go off, it went off and I lost control of it because I wasn't holding it in a situation where I'm going to shoot it. I was holding it very nonchalantly. So when it went off and it shot me in my chest and paralyzed me on the spot. I didn't feel a thing. You know what
My
I mean?
God.
But as I'm lying there on the ground, I can't move nothing. I can't move no limbs, no nothing, but I can hear what's going on. Now my mother, who had already tried to prevent me from going downstairs with it, by this time she done got down the stairs and she sees me down. She sees me, and I can hear my mother crying, "My baby, my baby, my baby!" And she tries to do mouth to mouth on me, but all the air she was blowing into my mouth was coming out through the hole in my chest. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I couldn't push her off. It hurt. I remember, but I think it was not after that. I think I just blacked out. I blacked out, and I don't remember anything other than I must have been heavily sedated and then just and maybe I don't know if it was maybe a few days. I don't know, but I remember uh just opening my eyes and seeing my boy Squirrel sitting there. You know what I mean? And he started going on crazy, yo yo yo, trying to get somebody to just to some doctor, some nurse's attention,
Mhm.
whatever. But he never left my side, and that's the one thing I can say that got me through my situation, man. Is I had the best friends in the world. You know what I mean? That they never left my side. 33 years of being a paraplegic, man, and I don't think I've ever had a day where I could say, I didn't have a friend that was always there for me. You know what I mean? My hospital room was flooded every day. It was like a party every day in my hospital room. For music, people playing cards, cracking sessions. It was live every day. So even when I went to rehab, they would rent a car and they would come up and see me in Waterbury Connect. So it was, I had the best friends in the world that was able to help me get through it. But even after being paralyzed, I still had thoughts of suicide. My
Wow.
thought.
So yeah, I wanna highlight something, man. So let me tell you, man. I remember hearing something happen to you, and that it had to do with your own doing. Um, but I never heard the story. Right?
Mhm.
It's not something that you've talked about, as you said, for years. You gave people excuses. I mean, we all kind of knew. I never really knew it specifically, and I was not going to ask you. Um, but man, let me tell you something. As I'm listening to your story, as I'm imagining this moment, because I mean, I'm only imagining because I know Travis, I know the area, so I don't know where you were, but I mean, that must have set the whole community on fire, right? I mean, everybody was completely in total disarray, right? I mean, because first of all, you were liked very much so, right? I mean, people loved you, man, and
Man, you telling me something new? I,
well, that was my impression of you, right? I mean,
I didn't think I was like the until I was paralyzed.
no, and that's crazy
You
because
know what I mean?
like I've always saw you, as is like you said, happy go lucky, you always up tempo. I never knew anything negative about you, as it relates to the drug life or the street life. But everybody, man, thought well of you. Like I didn't hear nobody. I mean, we all, everybody had the people that nobody liked. So, we were not short of those people, but you were not on that list. You were nowhere near that list. And so the reason why I'm mentioning this is because, to your point earlier about the funeral and the accolades people get, because you're in this situation, you see this, right? You see this in real time, but you are alive. And let me ask you a question, man. So while you're in this moment, because I'm sure you had these inner thoughts, right? You're laying in the bed, you're recovering, and you see all these people, the music, kind of the I guess the reality of how people really felt about you came to surface, right? Because let's be clear, there are people who have done stuff like this that nobody goes to see, right? Nobody goes to visit. Only the people who feel like they have to. But you kind of rallied the whole community. So in this moment, man, what was going through your mind while you were in the hospital recovering and people were all around? Were you thinking? Just tell me, what were you thinking? I don't want to.
I was I was I was still doing the same thing. I was still putting on a happy face because it was what was expected of me. You know what I mean? So when my friends is there, in the hospital rooms with me, whatever, I'm laughing, I'm having fun with them. But at the end of the night, when everybody goes away and there's me in them four walls again, that depression creeps back in again. Because
Wow.
now it's just you in those four walls again. Everybody's gone. Everybody's went home. You know what I mean? And so you're laying there, and every night you're crying yourself to sleep. You know what I mean?
Wow.
After your friend's gone, you're crying yourself to sleep. Like, man, um, you still questioning God. Like,
Yeah.
why, man? And then after reality sets in, and you realize this is going to be your life going forward. You know, I couldn't accept it. I didn't want to deal with that reality. I never wanted to accept it. And so I would constantly just ask God, like, you know what I mean, just wishing for a miracle or something like that, whatever. Uh, but it never happened. You know what I mean? It never happened. So here I am. I'm still depressed. Now I got, and the first 10 years of being a paraplegic was pure hell for me. It was just pure hell. I had these bed sores that would never go away. They were so bad you could take your fist and stick your fist in my bed inside of me because they were so bad.
Wow.
So I'm
Wow.
fighting these bed sores. I'm away from everybody. I got to be in a special bed. I can't never go home. I was in the hospital more than I was home. First 10 years of being a paraplegic, I was in hospitals more than I was home. I was in every hospital in Westchester, from New Rochelle, the White Plains, Valhalla, Mount Vernon. Every hospital I was in, dealing with these bed sores. And when I was dealing with the bed sores, I was it made me even more depressed because it's one thing to be paralyzed, but if I'm gonna be paralyzed, can I at least have a normal life as a paraplegic? Can I at least live a productive life, go out as a normal paraplegic and still, instead of being stuck in a hospital room every day, all day, for months at a time? So I was still going through the depression, man, and now because how are you gonna do it now? So that's my next thing was,
Wow. Wow.
you did
So
it
so
that way. Now what are you going to how are you gonna do it this time? You don't have no gun now. You don't have no way of, you can't string. How are you gonna string it? How are you gonna do it now? And there's no answers to how you can try to get the task done again. You know what I'm saying?
so hold on, man. Not to cut you off. So you're going through this whole thing. When was there a moment when people were like those people were out were addressing the depression? I mean, did anybody was that something that the doctors or I mean, did anybody start talking about why and the depression of it all? Where
They
was that?
tried. They tried. This when I was in rehab, they sent me to Kankakee, Illinois. They had a psychiatrist uh, come to my room every day, because you gotta realize, for a while I couldn't talk. You know what I mean? I had the trach in my
Mm,
throat, so it took a while for me to be able to
oh
even
wow,
communicate
wow,
at all,
wow,
whatever. You know what I mean?
wow,
A lot
wow.
of time I was just doing, when I first at first I was just writing on paper. So I remember when I first was able to get the trick out. No, they put one where I could put my finger on it and I could talk through it like that. But he kept coming. He never stopped. And then one and I was in Chicago area, whatever, which is Central Time, and New York was Eastern Time. So Jeopardy came on at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, but it came on at 6 o'clock Central Time. So he came into my room every day around the same time, and it was always around the time that Jeopardy was going to come on. And so one day he came in, he said, "Calvin, I got to talk to you. We got to do this. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take you to talk, but we have to do this. We have to have this discussion." And I looked him in the eye and I said, "Doctor," I said, "Jeopardy's about to come on in 5 minutes." I said, "If you beat me in Jeopardy, we'll talk." I said, "But if I beat you in Jeopardy, you can never show your face in this room again." Uh,
Wow.
in a nutshell, I don't know what he told his superiors. I don't know what he told his nursing staff or management, whatever, but he couldn't show his face in that room again. You know what I mean? I don't know what he told them, but I won, and he couldn't come back again. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so, and no matter who they sent, you know how it is in the black community. It's like taboo talking about your problems to a psychiatrist. It's taboo talking about being depressed in the black community. So these are things that you don't talk about because you're concerned about what people are gonna say, what they're gonna think, how they're gonna
Mm.
look at you, point at you, and all that stuff. So you'd rather just keep that stuff to yourself. So you don't talk about those things. So I definitely wasn't gonna talk about it to no psychiatrist. Um, and the thing about depression is a lot of people times the people who are depressed, they don't know they're depressed. You don't know what the I mean, you really in most cases you're too young to really know what depression is. Somebody has to really tell you that you're depressed. And nobody ever told me that I was depressed. It wasn't until I was getting my bed sores treated one day. My bed sore, I was at home and they would come to do my dressings twice a day. And the nurse came, and after she did my wound dressing, she went into the living room with my mom. She said, "Hattie, can I talk to you for a second?" And she had never did that before. She said, and my mom said, "Sure, let's talk." She said, "No, let's go in the hallway, like the hallway of the building." I'm like, "What?" So I grabbed my pants, man. I hurry up and threw my pants on and transferred to the chair, right? And I went to the door so I could hear what she was telling my mother. And she was telling my mother that I was depressed. I was showing all these signs of being depressed, that I need to see somebody and da 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 da. And I opened that door up so fast, Pastor Chris, and rolled out into that hallway, and I was screaming and yelling at her. "Why would you tell my mother that? You don't know what the you're talking about. I'm not no damn depressed. Don't be telling my mother I'm depressed." And again, it's because I didn't know I was depressed.
So what did you think depression was? I mean, was it ugly? Was it? I mean,
It,
like, because what brought
you
that
got to
reaction,
realize
man?
it's not really talked about in the community. Nobody
No,
talks
yeah,
about depression. So how you gonna know what it is? How you gonna know what the signs are? How you gonna know what your mental state is or whatever you're going through, whatever, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I just didn't know, whatever, you know what I mean? So once she did that and I screamed on her, I was still depressed. And one day my Carla's boyfriend, my nephew's father, Larry, he would every day he would come over, whatever, and I would stay. I was always in the room. I wouldn't come out the room. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't do anything. And he said, "Why you don't never talk, man? What's going on, whatever?" And when the one day he came back, he had this book. He said, "Calvin, I want you to read this book. When I was in prison, this book helped me out tremendously, and I think it'll do something for you." And he put it on the nightstand, and that book stayed there for maybe 2 weeks before I finally picked it up. And the book was called Acts of Faith by Ian Levanzit.
Mm.
And when I picked that book up, I couldn't put it down. Page after page after page after page. And that book was probably single handedly responsible for me getting on my path to some type of healing, but I never saw a professional. That book was my professional. And it was probably the thing that started me on my healing process of getting better with the depression. I mean, like I said, it's like any disease, whether you're an alcoholic, whether you're a drug addict, it's a disease you're gonna deal with for the rest of your life. You can get off of drugs, but you can see somebody smoking crack, and that can trigger you to want to do it again. Or you can see somebody pick up a pint of Popov or Smirnoff, and that can trigger you to want to take another drink again.
Mm.
So it's best to not do anything around people like that because you don't know what could trigger them. For me, um, it was something that I was healing, I was better, my mind state was better, but like I said, it was something that was always going to be there for you for the rest of your life. I mean, when McCullough passed away, um, a few months, maybe a year after my brother, because my brother had lost one of his best friends and Carla back to back. And when I went
Mm.
to go see my brother in Northern Virginia, he was like, he saw something in me, man. And we talked, and he said, "Yo," he said, "you got to go see somebody. You got to go talk to somebody." He said, "Calvin, I know what it's like. I never saw it. It took me a lot of heart to talk to somebody too, but it helped me, man. Go do it." And I did it, and I think I haven't looked back since. Uh, I don't think I've had a I don't think I've had a depression thought in over 20 years. You know what I mean?
Wow. Wow.
But you got to go through something to be something. And everything that you know, I went through a lot. I saw a lot, but it was tough. You know what I mean? And I know what it's. I know what it's like, man. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you a question, man. So, you are a survivor for a reason. And, all of us that listen to this, I believe that there's no doubt in our minds that you was left here for a reason. And regardless of, you know, how you might have wanted to be, this is kind of, where you are. And I believe that whatever you are, the lives you are to impact, there's a whole community of people who are some hiding and suffering in silence, and they don't have anyone to talk to. No one can relate to them, and they don't have anyone, especially in our community, right? I'm looking at some of the chats. I'm looking at my brother Eric here, man. He's telling me that he know what that feels like. And I think, lady, I'm not to put y'all on spot, but I just by what y'all saying is that y'all can attest to, lady, Ebony and Lady Clark. Y'all seem like y'all can attest to this, and so there's a whole group of people who will battle this, man. And now that you're out here telling your story, and for the first time, many of us who've known you for most of your life, I've never heard it, and not like this. And so, man, listen, I really appreciate you doing this, man, if because sometimes it's easier to. I mean, I'm a preacher. Like I said, I've been preaching for a long time, longer than I've been alive. But this is a story I can't tell from your position, and there are people that I can't help, that you can help because of where you are, man. So I'm good. I'm grateful to God that He spared you, man. And I know why you were saying why. I got that, and I understand our plights and our situations, man. But this is going to be tremendous, man. I think tonight you're gonna save lives. I think tonight you're going to impact lives. You already are. You're impacting minds, right? I had no idea, and you're gonna change. You're absolutely going to change how I address this. I thought I had a good handle on it, because from the church we always want to cast out a demon, and we always want to blame some kind of spirit on this. But there's a mental condition that, like the mind and anything else, it's a part of the body, and the mind does get damaged. The mind does have bouts that are not necessarily spiritual. So but I want you to kind of help us, man, a little bit tonight. Again, you've already helped us, but this depression thing, how do we, what are some of the signs? Because sometimes, and I know you kind of gave us some of the signs, but give us some insight so that those of us who are either dealing with it ourselves, we may not recognize it, like you said you did not, and those that are in our life right? We see people, our children, and they may be dealing with this and it may not know what to call it, right? They may not know what it is. So help us understand like how to recognize it, and then what would you recommend as the approach that we should take so that it will not be offensive or to alienate or to shame, because oftentimes that's how it comes out, that we shame, like we tell them, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting like that? Right? That's how we address this stuff. Why you cheer up? Come on, let's go out and get some ice cream. Right? They think that you can do it with a movie or a treat or a game, but it's far beyond that. So tell us, give us just a little bit, man. Take your time with this if you want, man. Just tell us, like, what are some of the signs, man? Some of the things that we could pick up on, and then we're going to deal with what you recommend going forward. Yeah, we're pulling on you tonight, brother. We're pulling on you tonight.
The thing about mental illness and depression, it's called the silent killer for a reason. You know what I mean? And it's called the silent because people are silent about what they're feeling, and not only that, to other people, it's silent to them too because sometimes it's just hard to see with the naked eye what someone is going because this is internal, and a lot of times you want to isolate yourself. Um, but that too can be dangerous. Too much isolation is just not good. It's not healthy. So sometimes it's good to surround yourself and be around people. Because, like I said, when I was in that hospital room, I was good as long as those people were in that hospital room with me. But when they were gone, when the isolation happened, when it was just me and them four walls, that's when it hit me again. You know. So it's called the silent killer for a reason, man. Because you know it really comes down to how with the LGBT community, how
Mm-hmm.
so many people just stayed in the closet,
Yeah.
and now there's so many people coming out the closet now because they've made a way for them to feel like you don't have to be ashamed, you don't have to feel bad. There's other people going through this that are like this too, and now they probably one of the biggest uh, flamboyant organizations out there, right? If we could do the same thing with mental illness, where we would have people who are not afraid to come out of the closet, not afraid of what people are gonna think, what they're gonna say. When you're feeling bad, when you're going through the motions, and you need to be able to say, you know what, I just don't feel good. I just don't feel like myself. I feel bad. I feel like I don't want to be here. Uh, and 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 there's a lot of reasons why people may not just want to be here, whatever. You may be living in poverty. You go home and there's nothing to eat. You realize that your family ain't like other people's family. I remember there was this song from Naughty by Nature. I was one who never had and always mad. Never knew my dad, mother back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was hard when sometimes when you want to go to the ice cream truck like other people, but you ain't got the money. The ice cream truck can fill whatever you got. You on the sidelines. You watching. You know what I mean. The people who have maybe had got money in their family, or a two family household, whatever. So it's a lot of things that you keep inside, whether it be how someone is treating you at school, whether you feel like you're not popular enough in
Mm-hmm.
school, uh, you're not talented enough, you're feeling like you're not loved. These are all things that are internal, and a lot of times it's not something that people can see with the naked eye on the outside. So basically, what's going to come down to is people starting to feel like, you know what, I need to forget the pride, forget the taboo. Let me talk to somebody. We need to make talking to a professional a thing that's not frowned upon.
Yeah.
It has to get to that point
Yeah.
where you don't feel like you don't feel bad about speaking to someone.
Yeah.
It's got to get to the point the same way they are about the LGBT community. we got to get to that point about the mental illness community
Mhm.
where don't be afraid to come out the closet no more. Don't be afraid to come out and tell people how you feel or what you're feeling no more. Be transparent about it. Be proud, because that's what they say about the LGBT. Be proud. Wear your status with pride. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people out there on the front line, like Charlemagne the God,
Mhm.
who
Yeah,
are out there in front on the front line about this, and giving it attention. And I think there needs to be more celebrities to do that because the celebrities, you know, a lot of them are more depressed than anybody.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because they're getting the fame and everything, whatever. But when the cameras is off, and they ain't getting that attention no more. They're crying. They're in depression. They're in depression as well. And they're doing just what I was doing. They on the outside. You're the oh yes, I'm the great pretender. You know that song,
Mhm.
pretending that I'm doing well, but you're dying on the inside. You
Yeah.
know, I was happy go lucky and smiling on the outside, but I was dying on the inside,
Yeah.
and nobody knew it but me. And I didn't want to be here. And like I said, the people that get all the love are the people that land straight in a casket.
It must have been something, man, when you talked about how after while you're in the bed, back to your, recovery from the gunshot, and you are I want to ask those of you, please share this, please hit the like button, share, attack somebody. While you're laying there and after, everybody goes, you're faced with this depression again. Like it didn't it
Hmm.
didn't it didn't just go away, right? It just didn't go well. And all the attention for the moment didn't do it, right? So there had to be an inner healing, right? That had to come as a result of your process. And one of the things I remember you saying about reading the book by Van
Access.
Zandt, yeah, and so how that book, the words, apparently the therapy in the book uh began to help you process through, because you had to go through a sense of therapy, right? And even though, the wonderful thing about it is that you were actually able to see that process work out, and now that you can testify that you have not been depressed in 20 years is phenomenal. However, now you're in this situation that has got to be difficult, right? Being paraplegic and living this life, um and still now, because I remember you saying that it was a time when you were still making up stories as to why you're in the chair,
Hmm.
right? So now there's this level of shame that you talked about, um and now you were carrying it for some years, and so until you got to the point where, like, listen, this is what happened, and now you're coming out and talking about it. And I think that's courageous, man. uh you know Go ahead, brother.
Because like you said it a few minutes ago. There's always this cliche that people say, God left you here for a reason. God left you here for a reason. You're here for a reason. And you don't know what that reason is for. Sometimes you don't know for a long time. I had to get in my 40s to figure out what that reason was. You know what I mean?
Mm,
I had to get in my 40s to realize that I had to be transparent about my life. Whether it was my mental illness, I could help somebody with that. Whether it was my paralysis, helping other paraplegics to get through. Because if Marie Spencer, who was the director of nursing at Burke's Rehab
mhm,
in White Plains, New York, she was the first person to reach out to me because she saw a lot of paraplegics come through there and they were depressed. And she said,
mm,
Calvin, I need you to come and talk to. Started with this one guy who was paralyzed. I need you to come and talk to him. He's paralyzed. He doesn't want to live. He doesn't want to. This is his life now. And I went and I spoke to him, and it just snowballed from there. And I realized I was helping not only people who were paralyzed or quadriplegics, but people who were depressed because they were at a new situation. So it kind of went hand in hand. But I was helping both, and for me, um, I realized that I had to stop lying about how I got in the chair. I realized the only way I could really help somebody was to be transparent and tell them what I was going through and what I was feeling and how to that's the only way you can the only way you can be a blessing to somebody else is to be as transparent as possible with your situation and what you're going through so you can bless somebody else. And that was my waking up calls for me to understand, okay, I understand why I'm here now. I understand why he why God left me here now. Right?
Mm,
Because God has a way of showing you exactly who's in control when you think you're in control. And then
yeah.
that situation, I thought I was in control. I had the gun. I get to dictate what I'm going to live and not know. God says, no, you don't control that. You don't control if you're going to live or you're going to die. That's my call. And and when I woke up and I was still here, that was God letting me know. I tell you, I'm in control. You here? I left you here because I wanted you to be here, and now I'm going to use you the way I want to use you. And it
Mm,
took some time for me to figure that out, to understand
mm,
what my walk was about, or my role, however you want to call it. You know what
yeah.
I mean? And how I could be a blessing to others in some capacity, by just telling my story, and but it's like I said, I speak to one of the best jobs I have now, and I wear multiple hats. But one of my best is being a motivational speaker, just being a speaker, a
Mm.
public speaker, and telling people my story, going to schools, and I love it. That's the best one out of everything that I do. That's the best one.
And the powerful thing, man, is that the attention, because now, and if you just walk through the timeline, I mean, now is the time because we have this awareness. Like people are now willing to have the conversation. 10 years, 20 years ago, people were not talking about this, right? That was not the thing. But now because it is the thing, now your voice, it has more prominence, right? It's more resounding because people are willing to accept, at least on some level, that there is mental illness and we do suffer from it, especially in the community. As a community, we do struggle, and we struggle with the pride factor, right? The pride of feeling like, something, it ain't me or something's wrong with me. Well, listen, I mean, if you go to the doctor for bad headache or sore throat or whatever, you go to doctor, it's the same thing. It's just your mind.
Yeah,
And so this is
yeah,
this is the right time for you, brother. This is critical. Because I listen, and the reason why I'm passionate about this is because I don't think I've ever suffered from depression, as it were, but I do know I had to go see a therapist, right? And once I did go see a therapist, then I'm able to really appreciate what therapists do, right? Because at
yeah,
one time we just thought it was for people who were just couldn't, got their mind off. But man, even as a people, and I think this is the kind of thing we escapes us. Even as a people, we are traumatized. And I was looking at some of the comments, and I think Vonda putting there about how these things are passed down to our family, generation.
oh, yeah,
These types of things that are found in our bloodline or found, you could trace back into some people in your family, like boom, they had it, and we never deal with it, right? Because we just kind of chalk people off to whatever. And again, and then if somebody says, listen, I'm depressed, and people say, well, get it here, take a drink. Here, do this,
mm,
but here's some money, but that's not going to fix it, man. So Cal, I want to talk a little bit about, and I want to ask, I'm going to listen, those of you who have questions for Calvin, get your questions ready so that you can ask him, and we'll start getting ready to get into that. But I want to talk about the like now when you go to talk to people about this depression and how to deal with suicide, what do you find to be like the most common uh common trait, like when you talk to people, and what seems to be the thing that people tend to focus on more as it relates to um what they're feeling?
Mo- 9 times out of 10, and I'm talking about nine out of 10. It starts from childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're missing something, or if you're missing some type of piece of you, whether it be a you feel like you're not being getting the attention or love from a parent, or you feel like your household is just you know it's not safe. It could be the trauma of dealing with someone who has a family member or anybody
Mm,
who has touched you in the wrong way, and you can't tell somebody about it. That's a whole nother story. You know
mm-hmm.
what I mean? But it always leads back to childhood trauma. Even whether you're bullied, whether you did the bullying,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it always goes back to that, man. You know, if you can, if you ever want to get to the root of something, man, just you know, ask a child. Sometimes when they're angry, why are you so angry?
Mm,
Something is making that child angry. Something is making that child act out. Something is making that child want to bully someone else, whether it's for attention, for you know, I was told as a young man that your introduction to childhood is for a man is when you get your heart broke. It said
mm.
you ain't a man till you've had your heart broken. That's your introduction to manhood. You know what I'm saying? And so even something as like that can trigger someone to say, you know what, because men handle that stuff different from a. I like to think that they handle it different from a woman.
Yeah,
Heartbreak,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And so something like that could make a man want to commit suicide. I know a person who committed suicide over a woman.
Mm,
God bless my boy Rick West Jr. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind me calling his name out. But and I dropped the ball on that one because I was still in my phase with Rick West Jr. I was still in that phase where I wasn't exactly accepting
mm.
uh, what my life was as far as my transparency. I wasn't doing it, and I felt like if I had, because that young man was coming to my house every day. If you can get my mama on this call right now, she'll tell you, little Rick West Jr. was coming up to 6G every day, and I did not see the signs. I wasn't paying attention. I don't know what it was. And that young man, when he left New York and went back down south, he committed suicide over heartbreak.
Wow, man.
So it's crazy, man. There's so many different triggers, but 9 times out of 10, man, it definitely always leads back to childhood trauma in some way, shape, or form. Man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people are hungry, and a lot of people going to school and coming back home to no food in the house.
Mm,
There's just so many things that's going on, and my teachers used to wonder why I couldn't pay attention in school. Uh, well, look at these kids up in King Street and Nice and all that,
mm,
whatever they're not going back to what we seeing on the block. You know what I mean?
mm.
When I go back at home at the day, I'm I'm thinking about, man. You see what he did to him, or you see how that drug transaction went out. So the next day I'm in school, I'm hitting my friends on the shoulder. Yo, did you see how Fifi hit that boy over the head with that brick? Did you see how they do that shopping cart off the top of the bill? I mean, I can't focus. I'm
Yeah,
thinking about what I saw the day before. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
Two
it's
different worlds, man. Right? Two completely different worlds.
yeah, man. It's just so much
Wow.
that that's going on that you just need somebody to just to we have to make it accessible for people to be comfortable about saying what's going on with them.
So the one thing I want to kind of really drill down in our conversation tonight is the fact this your boy Roy just showed up, man. Uh the fact that this is something we need to really be okay with. I think I saw another comment in here, and I'm just saying this because I believe that the reason why I'm reading the comments of those of you who are coming in or those of you who are sharing is because we're going to have to do this together. I think it was Vonda again that said you have to be okay with not being okay,
Mm,
right? I mean that has to be that's got to be the underlining thing, that it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to struggle. It is okay to not being isolated or feeling like you got crazy bad thoughts in your mind. And I remember in ministry when I deal with various people who did have depression. I during that time I could never figure out like how to speak to that. Like I was just completely oblivious because I had enough wherewithal to know that it wasn't spiritual, right? It wasn't a spiritual thing. It wasn't always a spiritual thing. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But this was not in this case. This person really had a real disorder, and I was struggling with trying to relate to it so that I can speak to it. But the reality is that that's where professionals come in at, right? You have to know what you can handle and what you have to get somebody help for to handle.
yeah.
And I think that's those of us that are parents and those of us who are leaders in our community. I think one of the takeaways tonight I would have to say is, when you realize that you can't speak to a certain thing, or what you're trying to give is not enough, be okay with taking your loved one to a therapist. Be okay with helping them navigate, because they may not want to, like, because part of depression is that you don't want to, from what I'm gathering, you don't want to like get help. You don't, you kind of want to be in that rut, but you don't want to be in that rut, if that makes any sense. It's like one of
But
those
you know
things
what?
where you feel bad, but you don't want to feel bad, but you don't want to do it. You don't have enough energy to get out of feeling bad. Does that make sense?
It does, but Pastor Chris, you know what though? I think elementary schools should make it mandatory for a child, even if it's just for once a week, to sit down and speak to someone. Okay, this is your week. You have to sit down and you have to speak with
Mm.
someone today with them. Just even if it's just to talk, just to get just to be able to see if you can find out what's going on, if there's something going on, because a lot of times we think bullying is just physical. Sometimes bullying is just you laughing because look at his sneakers. His
Mhm.
sneakers, he got on skippies. Oh, look at his shirt. Oh, wow, you couldn't afford no haircut. All these things are triggers. All these things mess with you when you don't have the same things another kid has. Other kids are wearing Jordans. You can't afford a Jordan. All these things are triggers. All these things are things that can be used to trigger a child or to mess with them mentally. So it should be mandatory in elementary schools for children to speak to someone. I don't care if they do it every quarter or whatever, but you should definitely have to make it where they have to speak to someone, and it doesn't have to be because they're special needs or whatever. Kids are going through some things that we have no idea what they're going through, man.
So
Parents
would
don't
you,
know, teachers
brother,
don't know.
would you recommend, because I know that it's kind of unless there's some kind of legislation and we got to almost sue the government or sue the state to do anything for, especially those of us in the urban community. Um, but I think based on what you're saying, one of the things that might be helpful is that if we can like start trying to get some therapists, because I know there's a lot of therapists out there, a lot of young therapists who are cutting edge, who would love to uh help out. I would throw out to those of us who are listening to this, let's try to find ways in where we are to try to help our children navigate, because sometimes I think that if, like, for instance, if we know that, say for instance, we got 2 or 3 kids in our family, right, in a nucleus circle, and we
Mhm.
said, listen, to your point, Calvin, like, let's get a therapist, and let's pay for them to have a session or two. Let's let them go and talk to them and make sure that they're okay, and then let that be something that we all chip in, because at the end of the day, it's really not a lot of money. It's just a matter of coordinating and organizing, right? In order to, for that particular thing. I think that And also I would say, because I'm a part of the church community, that that's something that we should think about in the churches as well. I mean, we do a whole lot of other things for, you know, for the church. Why not have therapists, or people that we can, and if we don't have anyone in our local church that's a therapist, we can contract a therapist, right? I mean, there should be resources for that, because we're now knowing that our community is it's not changing per se. It's just that we are now beginning to address the real hurt and the real pain in our communities. And we understand that we're going to have to approach it from different perspectives, right? There is a spiritual component, but there's also, and we can support them, right, on our end, but there's also a clinical, secular component to mental illness. And it's not just a depression. I know we're talking about tonight, it's our subject, but there's bipolar, there's schizophrenia, there's all kinds of mental illness that people battle that we never really speak to. And it's because we don't want to, people, like you said, we don't want to talk about it, we don't want to bring it up. And those of us who have family members who are struggling, we don't necessarily want to say, well, my little boy over there, Kayshawn is struggling, he's got depression, because it seems like for some reason we feel like that's got some taboo or some shame on us. And I think that's where we are missing. That's where we're missing the mark, man.
But a
So,
lot of employers pay for it now. A lot of employers will pay for you to go speak to someone. So sometimes it's not even an excuse no more. It's in your benefits now. They will pay for you you know, to go speak to someone now. It's in the benefits now. So it's not about affordability no more, because a lot of times it's
okay.
in your benefits. I was just looking at one of the comments from Miss Pat. She said they need to put clinics in the black community. They put everything else in the black community. Why not put no clinics in there? You know what I mean? Yeah, but it really
Wow.
just comes down to looking for the signs, man. You got to look for the signs. Sometimes, you know, like I said, isolation can be bad. Sleep can be good and bad. Now I sleep a lot. Now my friends, if Roy is on here, uh, my friends tease me a lot about my naps. They say I sleep a lot. Yo, why you sleeping? They'll call me before I even say a word. You sleeping, ain't you? And I had to explain to my friends, like, yo, listen, man, that's one of my coping mechanisms. I sleep a lot because in my dreams, I'm walking. You know what I mean? I'm walking in my dreams. I'm playing basketball, doing all those things I want to do. And when I wake up, I'm slapped with reality again. I look over to that chair, it's still there when I wake up. So sometimes I wake up, man, and I do what I gotta do, and I say, yeah, I'm going back to sleep. Because for me, I'm living my best life in my dreams. I'm walking. You know what I mean? So yeah, I sleep a lot. And my friends, anybody that knows me, they tease me about how much I sleep a lot, but they don't know, man. In my dreams, I'm walking, man. I don't want sometimes I don't want to wake up. I'm having fun in my dream. I'm walking. I ain't did that in 33 years. And when I wake up,
Wow.
I'm snapping at that reality all over again every time I wake up. You know what I mean?
Wow. Wow.
Real, man.
Wow. That's something, brother. Yeah, I never, and that's one of the things about the mind, right? You think about how powerful the mind is. I often say, like you could be you could be asleep and running and wake up out of breath, right? But
Mm,
you're in the bed, right? Think about that, right? So,
yeah,
and that's like, wait, why am I breathing so heavy? Because your mind is got you running. And also, the other thing too I thought about is like, how do you hear in your dreams? Like
yeah,
nobody's talking, but you hear. Like they said, how'd they say it? Like how'd you hear it, right? So
yeah.
it does go to how powerful the mind is, and being so powerful, it does lend itself to some complexity, right? It's complex. But listen, let's see if we can turn the corner a little bit. I want to ask: is there anybody have any questions for our brother Calvin tonight? You know, anybody have any questions? Because I want to really try to maximize our time together, man. Anybody have any questions that they want to ask, or or anybody seeing signs in a family member, and or you're dealing with some things and you want to know how to get started, or like he said, he had a book. He gave us a book that he read. What's the title of that book, man? Because I thought somebody put in the chat.
Acts of Faith by Ian Levanze.
Okay, Acts of Faith by Sarah.
Ian Levanze.
I always mess her name up.
Ian Levanze.
Okay, so y'all got that? Somebody put that in the chat. And I have a book that my therapist gave me that I found very helpful. I'm trying to find it. I don't know why I didn't think about it when we were talking. But it's called The Body Knows the Score. Thank you, Vonda. And it's a real technical book, but it helps deal with trauma, how to navigate trauma and what the effects trauma have on the body, on the mind. Like, the mind, the body will keep going, but the mind is keeping the score, right? It's helping how to deal with trauma. Like, you think you're past them, like you were saying, like even as a child, as a grown man, you're still dealing with things that you dealt with as a child, and the body knows the score. So I forgot. It's a real good book. It's very powerful. I'm trying to find it so I can show it to y'all, but I'm not gonna be able to find it because I'm looking for it. Any questions? Anybody have any questions tonight? No. That if there's no questions, that means that my brother Calvin really answered all your questions and concerns tonight. So what I want to do, and I'll give people a few minutes because I know sometimes there's a time delay. So how you cope now, man? I mean, you're in the chair, right? And you are, you still got to live your life, right? So how does,
man. I try to stay busy. When I'm not napping, I gotta make money, right?
yeah.
So, but a lot of times I get my work done during the day, and I get my midday nap, and I get up and I can complete and finish what I got to do, and I try to stay active all the time, whatever. But as an entrepreneur, what they say, you don't have a 9 to 5, you have it when you open your eyes to when you close them.
Yeah.
So if I'm not dealing with a auto insurance, if I'm not dealing with life insurance, if I'm not dealing with one of my trucks as a dispatcher, I'm always moving around, man. I get out, I go to trivia a few times a week. I've always loved trivia, you know what I mean? So for me, I'm always trying to keep my mind going. And I'm living my best life, man. I'm doing, Pastor Chris, man, everything I wanted to do, I've conquered, I've done. I wanted to be a radio host. I did it. You know what I mean? I wanted to be an entrepreneur and start my own insurance agency. I did that in 2013. I'm still doing that. I wanted to be a motivational speaker. I did that. I've done that. I'm still doing that. I wanted to be in a band. I'm in a band, singing my heart out, doing what I love the most. So everything that I've wanted to do, I'm doing it, man. The only thing I got left to do is to do my memoir, which I want to write, called My Full-Time Job: Life as a Paraplegic. But everything I wanted to do, man, I've done it. It's nothing I can say, man, I wanted to do that, and I haven't done it. You know what I mean? So
that's powerful.
I'm just living my best life, man. Just doing what I love to do, man. Just getting up on the stage. For me, being on the stage, I'm always been a show off. So anytime I'm on that stage, I'm doing what I love to do. Whether if I'm singing or dancing, and if I ain't doing that, I may not be singing or dancing, but I'm still entertaining in some capacity because I have your attention. You're listening to my story. So it's still the form of entertainment when I'm out there doing a public speaking, a motivational speaking. I'm still doing what I love to do. I'm in front of people, and doing what I love to do. So I just stay busy, man. And
he can sing, y'all. Listen, y'all. He can sing. Don't sleep on my man. He got the vocals. He can definitely sing. Listen, man. Listen, so we got a question from Mrs. Wilson. I don't want to mess up her first name. She says, "Have you forgiven the people from your past?"
Man. I gotta keep it gully. I gotta keep it gully. I've had a real tough time with my biological father. Uh, I've forgiven him on more than one occasion. Every time I did, it shot me in the butt. You know what I mean? Every time I gave him another shot, it seemed like he always just found a way to hurt me again or to do something, man. And it's and so if I can honestly say, I say I did forgive him, but I really just had to separate from myself from him altogether because it wasn't good for me mentally. It wasn't good for my mental to have a relationship with him. So I had to do what I had to do. And he passed away last year.
Oh, I'm
Uh
sorry, man. My
Rest in peace,
condolences.
Pops. Rest in peace, you know what I mean? But uh for me that was you know, yes, I can honestly say I did forgive. I just forgive and I moved on and I got away from that's just not just him. Anything that I feel like can trigger me or interrupt my peace. I got to separate myself and get away from it because peace is I can't explain to you how valuable it is. You know, it's like
Mm,
that piece of jewelry in your jewelry box, and it's priceless. You know how much it was. You know how what you had to do to get it. So when you get it, you don't let nobody get close to it. You don't let nobody be in a situation where
mm,
they can take it from you because you value it so much. So, and it's not something you can get on the street. It's not something that you can buy in the store. It's God given. So when you get that peace and you know what you had to go through to get it, you don't let nobody get nowhere near it to touch it. So that's what I
yeah,
do.
yeah, and that's a good pointer, man. That you have to protect your peace, and rid yourself of toxic people and people who are really don't really mean you well. Although they say they love you. So Jackie Rivera, good to see you, Jackie. She's one of our people that go to our church. She says she's tried to get some therapy. It looks like uh she but then they won't take her insurance. She says, and I asked what is the price and can afford it. So she says she can't afford it. Where do we go from there? Like, do you know of any uh resources out there that might be able to help with that sort of thing? Like, there's some community therapists and Jackie. So just while Calvin is thinking about that, we're gonna realize we're gonna reach out and try to figure out if we can find somebody. We have Shayna is a nurse, Tasha's a nurse. They may know of some resources, so we're gonna pull on them. They're part of our ministry. We're gonna pull on them and see what we can do to help you with that. But you have any ideas, brother Cal?
And listen, you can go to social services and you can find something at no charge. Go to social services and they will find you someone to speak to at no charge. There's really no excuse for not being able to find someone to speak to in this day and age. You don't even have to have the resources. You don't have to have the money. There's so many outreach programs out there that offer it for help. You just got to be willing to do the legwork and do the research and get out there and find it. But the first place you would want to go to is social services. They're not going to let you leave that building without help if you need it, especially with something like that. They're gonna direct you exactly where to go.
Okay, okay. Um, any other questions? Let's see here. Oh, okay. I'm just trying to go through the questions here. Oh, Keisha, that's how you pronounce your name. Okay, all right. Uh, Very powerful. Thank you. So these are some really good comments, man. I'm just reading through them, just make sure we don't miss anyone's questions. Uh, yeah, Jackie said that she was asking for other people. So I think that's something that we really want to do. Brother Eric says he sends his people to United Healthcare for the insurance. Local mental health clinics. I think she's a pastor. Fennell.
Yeah, she's I know she's definitely a minister,
Yeah,
Patricia
prophet.
Fennell.
Yeah, so she's saying mental health clinics should have sliding scales for therapy. Taisha is saying yes, we can help you find someone as well. So yeah. So this, you see, it's interesting, man. Once we start rallying, right, we start seeing like, wow, there is help. Like there's help right at our disposal. It's funny, man, because I thought about the other day, my wife and I were talking, and we were talking about um how like sometimes things that we're going through, the answer to that thing is right in front of us, but we can't see it. And we started talking about being hidden in plain sight, right?
Hmm.
Like sometimes because it's right there, we don't really know the resources. And one of the things that we're trying to do at our church, man, is really build our ministry to be a resource for the community, right? For
That would be a beautiful thing, man.
the parishioners, for the church, for the people in the building, and how to create resources and help and support, and to where when we have these issues that we can immediately address them and give solutions and provide help, because at the end of the day, that's really what our assignment is. So yeah, man, I think that really this right here is kind of really put some a battery in our backs, right? So now we're ready really to move forward, man. I thank you, man, for
Pastor Chris, that's important because a lot of times in this day and age, you know, I'm the first one to say a lot of people blame the church for everything, right?
Mhm.
Church don't do this, church don't do that, whatever. You know what I mean? But to have those resources readily available is what probably would make one church stand out from another. Because I'm gonna say, when I Bethel Sounds of Praise, I became a member of Bethel Sounds of Praise because they were doing something that was rare, and you don't see that no more. You don't see a street ministry no more.
Mhm.
Bethel Sounds of Praise was out in the streets, and they caught me out there. I was coming back from Weber Drive, and Mama Brown, Bertha Brown, caught me out there, pulled
Mhm.
me to the side, and and the rest was history. But you don't see churches having a street ministry no more, where they go out to the streets and talk to people, whatever. You know what I mean? But to do that and also have those resources would definitely be amazing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But
And,
you got to get back to the street ministry though.
yeah. And the key thing, man, is to be relevant. I think that's one of the things that our message has to be relevant. Like, because people need help where they are, and that's exactly what God did, right? He made sure that there was a time in the scripture, I don't want to get too churchy here, but where the people were hungry. Jesus was out there talking all day long. The people were hungry, and they were like, send them away so they can get something to eat. We can't feed them. And Jesus said, no, you feed them. You feed them. you
Mm,
you you
mm,
take care of them. They're here for you. And the intent is, or the connotation is, stop shooing people away. You sit there and you hold them in captivity all day. They have needs too. They have physical needs, right? That's as
mm.
important as their spiritual needs. And I think that goes to what we're talking about tonight, man, that people have physical needs, right? As it relates to the mind, and to be loved in spite of, and to be accepted, and to know that it's okay to have, like we said, it's okay to have a problem. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be struggling, and it's okay that things aren't clicking like it should with you, because there should be a place where you're safe, right? Because that's what it comes down to, creating a safe environment where people can feel like, you know what, yeah, I am feeling depressed, and be able to have a brother or a sister that they can reach out to, at those moments you were talking about earlier, that they're in a situation in their mind, or they're going through something. They need to be able to say, if I'm in trouble, let me reach out to my brother, let me reach out to my sister, and they can be there for we could be there for each other, man, because now we know that you have an issue with this particular thing, right? You have a struggle with depression, or you battle with some psychological issue, emotional issue that you just need someone to talk and to be heard. So, man, I don't have anything else, man. This was absolutely positively phenomenal tonight. I can't even begin to imagine the ripple effect that this is going to have in our community, and with those people who are on here now that are able to listen, who was able to hang around, and those of you who will share this with your family. And I want y'all to make a commitment tonight to, if you know that there's somebody struggling, even your young kids, talk to them, sit them down and kind of try to get past that exterior, and find out, how they think about themselves, and, what they think about themselves. It's one of the things I try to do with my son. I try to do with my grandchildren. I want to know what's going on with them. I want to know, if they feel in some kind of way, why they feel that way, what's going, and just trying to just talk. Let them talk and not feel like they're judged.
Let them
Yeah,
talk.
let them
And you don't have
talk
to
and
know what's going on with them, man. Just
just let them talk.
just tap them on the shoulder. Hey, listen, let's chop it up for a minute. You know what I mean? Let's take a walk
Yeah.
and let's walk and talk.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
you can provoke thought, man, because if you create an environment where you're
Yep.
not challenging everything they're saying or trying to debunk what they're thinking about, and just like you said, just let them go.
Let 'em go.
There may be some holes in their thought process, but you don't have to try to fill every hole every moment. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting all that stuff out of them, so that now they know they can go to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm having this thought about this," and and they feel like you are a safe place to get that out, and you won't bug out on them. But that's good, man. I really appreciate you, brother, man. You really blessed us tonight. And listen, man, we have to do this again. There are people that, man, I've gotten to as the platform grows, man. And I know, man, you got some stuff to talk about. There's some stuff that you can share and help people see. And I really appreciate your willingness, man, to be transparent and to help us all. Because I know that there are people in my life right now that I'm going to be able to help better because of what you share with us tonight, man. All right, listen, can you tell people how to find you? What's your social media account? And I want those of you who are here to put that in the chat for my brother so that they can reach out to him. And those of you, and give us your Cash App. People might want to bless you, man. Put a little money in your pocket, put some change or something. I don't know, there's a little soul saying this. Put a little something in your pocket, man, to bless you for doing this. It's just the right thing to do. So give us your where we can find you. If someone has a question to inbox you, how can we find you on Facebook? Is it
Minister Calvin Hotep, HOTEP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all put that in the chat. Y'all, those of you who, I think somebody had it in there earlier. So throw that in the chat. What's your Cash App, man? You got a Cash App or a Zelle you want to share with us?
I do, but this is
Okay.
This is my blessing. You know what I mean? For me
All
to
right.
bless you, man. So yeah.
Okay. Listen, man, we ain't gonna force you. We just want to
Sure.
at least let you know we were thoughtful about it. Thank you, Vonda. Yeah, man, but we really appreciate you, man, tonight. Really do. And do you have a YouTube channel that you talk from, or it's just Facebook?
Nah, just Facebook.
Okay. All right. So listen, man, thank you so much for coming on. I want to say to those of you who are still here, next Thursday I'll be back on. There's a young lady that came across my path. She every Thursday I'll be doing this kind of thing. This is something you started this, brother. So you kind of got me going with this. So next Thursday, there's this young lady who did 13 years in prison. He was turned out at the age of like 12 and 13 by her mother. She was in and out of foster homes. One of those lives, y'all, stuff that you would not believe. This young lady's story and what she's been through and how she got through it. And when you see her, you won't we're gonna try to put some up advertised next week, so you'll see it. But when you see her, you were like, whoa, how? And when you hear her, you'll even think even more like this has got to be something wrong with this. But this, she's literally don't look like what she's been through. It's absolutely amazing how she completely recovered and got restored, and now doing some really, really great things. But so next Thursday night, 8 o'clock, we're gonna get on again. I'll be going. This is something that the Lord played in my heart to do on Thursday, so I'm gonna do it. And try to help some people. So if you know some people who are struggling with drug addiction, displacement, or any kind of those vices, have them come next week so we can talk and really start and deal with those matters, right? Deal with those issues so that we could change lives. All right. Listen, that's all I got. Did anyone his Facebook account, let me put it on the screen here. There
Bring
it
the free
is.
lunch program back.
Huh?
So
Say
bring
again?
the free lunch program back.
The free lunch program. Bring the free lunch program back. I remember that free lunch program.
Lot of hungry kids out there, man, and that causes depression too, man. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Bring the free lunch program back.
Wow. All right, I see it. All right, so that's his Facebook account. So they're probably gonna be inboxing you, man. So yeah, man. So that's it for tonight. Thank you so much, man. Again, my brother.
Man.
I appreciate you, man. And whoo, man, that's something, man. That's something right there. We're gonna talk again. Believe that.
You know how we do.
We know how we do. And there's other subjects we can talk about, right? There's other things that we can like always. We talked about. One of the things I want to talk about is depression among men, because one of the things that in some of the research I was doing, depression is higher and suicide is higher among men than among women. And so that's something that we have to address, right? Because a lot of our brothers, again, are suffering silence. And and so we're gonna
right?
Yeah, we're gonna bring that full circle and try to really deal with that a little bit. All right, y'all have a good night. Have a wonderful day tomorrow. Again, thank you so much for all the happy anniversary love. My wife and I we're not celebrating this month because we're in consecration. So we're celebrating next month, but we did give our own love to each other, cards and that whole thing. And because we are really, really excited about being married together. That's the real deal. So, but thank you for those of you who think that, I'm just, my brother, he tried to look out. I told you earlier before y'all got on, he was like, man, listen, I know it's your anniversary. You ain't gonna mess this up. I don't know smoke. I said, no, brother, I got it. I'm good. I said, I don't want to mess this up either, bro. So I'm good. And so this is really, really good. God bless. Good night. And listen, y'all, if you're having problems, reach out to somebody. Tell them I'm struggling and I need help. And those of you who hear that, open arms and no judgment, no shame.
That's it.
And just let them know it's okay. And this is the thing I got tonight, and I think Vonda kind of hit it. It's okay not to be okay. Right. It's okay. I'm probably put a post out there. It's okay not to be okay. All right. God bless. Y'all have a good night. Thanks, Cal. All right, brother. Peace.